Hello and welcome back to Python Fundamentals. In this video, I'll explain about tuple in Python. Tuple is a sequence data type having the properties ordered, that is the elements and the tuple are ordered and they are unchangeable, and tuple can have duplicate elements. So ordered, unchangeable and duplicates. The difference between the tuple and list is, in case of list, the elements are changeable, whereas in case of tuple, they are unchangeable. So let us take a variable and initialize a tuple. So tuple is always represented by using round brackets or parentheses, and elements are separated by using comma. So this is the tuple. So if we use square brackets instead of round brackets, then it is a list. In case of tuple, we have to use round brackets. So try to print X. So this is a tuple. Tuple can have duplicates also. So let us repeat the value of 4 and try to print it. Okay. So that is the fundamental definition of a tuple. Now, the tuple can also have a single item. Suppose you can write X is equal to, suppose I say 1. If I write 1 and then try to print it, will it take? See, it is not taken as a tuple because always the tuples are output within the by using the round brackets and elements are separated by the comma. So if you want a single element to be a tuple, write the element and then put a comma and try to print. Then it will consider it as a tuple. So the tuple can have one item and you have to put a comma after that element, right? That is another important point to be remembered in case of tuples. Next, as just like list, as you know, the tuples are also ordered. That means each element in the tuple has a positional value, or we can indexing is possible in case of tuples too. So the first position is the 0th position as you move from left to right of the tuple. This is the 0th position. This is the first position. This is the second position, this is the third position, and this is the fourth position of the elements in the tuple. As we move from right to left, this is the -1 position. So negative indexing is possible just like list. This is -1, this is -2, this is -3, this is -4, and this is -1. So we can have positive as well as negative indexing, just like list. So positive indexing is the values will start with, so positive indexing, in positive indexing, the values will move, the positional values will move from left to right, and they start with 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? For negative indexing, elements start from right to left, and the positional values will be -1, -2, -3, and so on, right? So that is the fundamental property that is called indexing. So let us take an example and try to access the elements by using their positional values. So X is equal to, I'll take apple, orange, grape, grapes, and take one more. So, jackfruit. So let us take this. Okay, Now, let us type. You know what is called indexing? So X, the positional value, X of, you want to know the position of what is there in the first position. So what is X of 1? What is the position of 1? Apple is in the 0th position, orange is in the first position, grapes in the second position, and jackfruit is in the 4th position, right? So X of 1. So let us try. Okay. Orange. So indexing is possible. We can also use negative index. Suppose we'll take, so as we move from right to left, jackfruit is in -1 position, grapes -2, orange -3, apple -4. So we'll take -3 and let us try to print the value orange. So this is called indexing. So whenever we can use indexing on, apply indexing on tuple, we can also have slicing, right? Slicing is we can take subset of the elements. So we can have group of elements instead of a single element, right? So X of, I'll take 0 is to 2. That means the elements starting from 0, ending with 2 minus 1. That is the end value. So end minus 1. So 0 and 1 should be printed. So what is the 0th position? Apple. First position, orange. So similarly, the negative indexing is also possible. So I start with -3 colon -1. So 2 elements must be printed because -3 and this is first element, and next is -1 -1. That is -2, -3 -2. What is -3 and -2? Orange and grapes. So let us take. Right. So jackfruit is -1, grapes -2, orange -3. So slicing will start with the -3 position value, -3 position value, positional value, and ends with -1 -1, that is equal to -2 position, right? So it returns positional. So it returns only 2 elements starting with -3 and ending with the -2. So in the -3, -2 position it is grapes and -3 it is orange. So it will print gray, orange and grapes. That is called slicing. And the next thing is we can have the operators. As you know, operators are very important, and we have seen 4 different types of operators in list. Similarly, in case of tuple also we can use operators. So let us take x is equal to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then y is equal to 23, 24, 25. Now let us use the first operator called concatenation. For concatenation, we have to use plus. So it adds the elements of y to x. So let us see here. So the elements of y, 23, 24, 25 will be added to the x tuple, right? So at the end of the x tuple, that is called concatenation operator. So the first operator is concatenation. This is there in plus also. Next operator is, as you know, repetition. Repetition is again, it repeats the elements with the number of times, whatever, how many number of times you want to repeat the elements, you can mention, and it repeats the elements by the number given, right? So x, for the repetition, we have to use operator multiplication, and q, we want to repeat the elements in the tuple 4 times, apply, then see here, a, b are repeated 4 times. So this is called repetition operator. Right? repetition operator. And then you have the other operator called membership. You know what is called membership operator? If you want to know, find whether the elements are there, whether the elements are present in the tuple or not, we can check by using membership operator. So the next operator is membership. And you know what are the membership operators, in and not in. So we'll take x is equal to, we can use the same tuple, but we'll change the values now, 14, 15. And you want to find whether 12 in x true. Suppose you take 34 in x false, because the element is not there in the tuple. Suppose if I write 23 not in x true, because 23 is not there. So we have membership operators, in and not in. And the final operation is called iteration. Iteration. So in iteration, we can print the elements by using for loop. So again, you take x is equal to 11, 22, and 33. So use the for loop. We have seen in the list also for I in x, print I. So you can print all the elements of the tuple. So 11, 22, and 23. So these are the four operators that can be used on tuples. One is called concatenation, plus, which adds the elements of y to the elements of x. And then we have repetition, which repeats the elements in the tuple by the number of times specified in the statement. That is, here we have asked to repeat the elements by 4 times. And then membership, to know whether the element is present in the tuple or not. We can use either in or not in membership operator. And in returns to if the element is present, and not in returns to if the element is not present. And then we have iteration. We can iterate the elements in the tuple print by using the for loop. And this is the statement for I in x, print I. So that is iteration. Next is, as you know, that in case of tuple, the elements are unchangeable. What is that unchangeable? That means you cannot add the elements to the tuple, right? So now if you want to add the elements, what we have to do is you have to convert the tuple into a list and use the append method. We have that method, right? The append method to add the elements to the list, then again change it in the tuple. So because of this unchangeable property, we cannot add, we cannot change, or we cannot add or remove elements from the tuple. So what we can do is we can create a tuple, change it into a list, apply the methods what you want, and then again change back to the tuple. So let us take x is equal to, I am taking a tuple of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I will try to convert into a list. Y is equal to list of x. Now Y is a list with elements of x, right? Let us try to print that. See, now 1, 2, 3, 4 are the elements of a list called Y. Now you have the append operation, Y dot append. You can add an element 7. and then you can take Y, you can print and see. Right. Again, convert back to the tuple. How to convert? Now again, X is equal to convert back. X is equal to tuple of Y. And print X. Now all the elements of the list Y will be the elements of tuple X. So this is how you can only add or remove the elements. If you want to add or remove the elements of the tuple, what you have to do is you have to convert the tuple into a list, apply the methods. You have append method, remove method, apply, then again convert back into the tuple. That is only possible. Otherwise, the elements of the tuple cannot be changed. That is the main property of the tuple, and that is the major difference between the tuple and a list. So that is the unchangeable property. So that is, and if you can delete entire elements of the list, because you cannot apply the methods append, remove for the tuple. But only thing is you can delete the entire tuple. Del X. If you delete X, and then if you try to print, so X is not defined because X is being removed. All the elements are completely removed. So that is called delete method. And one more thing is you can find the length of the X, right? There is this method can be applied. So we'll take another tuple, right? And then find, you can find the length. That is, it will return the number of elements in the tuple. 3. So there are 3 elements. So the length. So length is there. And as well as count is also there. We can use count. X is equal to count. That means how many number of times, because you can have duplicate values. So I'll duplicate 1, 2, I'll duplicate 3. And then, so you can have the duplicate values. So count returns how many times that element is repeated in the tuple, right? So X dot count of, what do you want to count? 1. 1 is repeated twice. So what will it return? Let us see. 2, right? Because 1 is repeated twice. Or X dot count of 4. 4 is repeated only once. So this method is there. So length method is there, which is a common for list and tuple. Count method is also common. And then we have only one more method called indexing. So X dot index of, you can return the positional values. So now index method, what it is it returns the positional value of the element. So I want to know the positional value of 4 in the tuple. So this is a tuple. This is 0th position, 1st position, 2nd position, 3rd position, 4th position, and 5th position, right? So index of 4 is 5. So this is indexing is also possible. So there are only 3 methods that can be applied. One is called length, count, and index. And all other methods where append, remove, pop, they are not possible for in case of tuple. And if you want to apply those methods, you have to convert the tuple into a list, apply the methods, and convert back the list into the tuple. So that is one important thing we have to remember while using tuples. And the last point in case of tuples is called unpacking. Unpacking. What is unpacking? This is a property that a tuple has. So you can extract the values back into variables. That is called unpacking. It's possible. That is, if we have a X is equal to, suppose I'll take list as tuple 1, right? We'll just initialize a tuple 1. Okay, tuple 1 is a variable name is equal to Now this tuple I have the numbers, right? 4 and 5. Now I can return, right? I can extract these values to a variables. So I will extract the variables. How many variables are there? 5 variables are there. So I'm starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So I'll extract these values into variables. So I have to take the variables. What are the variables you can take? Suppose I take how many values are there, that number of variables must be there. So X, I will start with A and B. A, B, C, D, and E. These are the variables name. So these variables you are giving to tuple 1. So the value of A must be stored in, value of this 1 should be stored in A because it's the variable name, 2 in B, 3 in C, 4 in D, and 5 in E. So equal number of variables you have to initialize. Now you try to print the values of A. What is the value of A now? It should be 1, right? Try to print the value of E, right? So we have assigned A. So A will have the value of 1 and E the value of 5. So try to print. So see here. So that is the unique property of tuple, unpacking, extracting the values back into variables. So we're extracting the values of tuple 1 into variables called A, B, C, D, E, and E. So A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, C is equal to 3, D is equal to 4, E is equal to 5. This is possible only in case of tuple. Suppose if we have taken equal number of variables, right? Because there are 5 values, we have taken 5 variables. If we take the variables less than the values, then what you have to use is you have to use asterisk. So let us see that tuple 1 is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now I'll take only 3 variables, A, comma, B, comma, C, and before C, I'll put the asterisk and then write equal to tuple 1. Then try to print A, print B, and print C. When we put asterisk, what happens is values will be assigned to the variables as a list. So A will be assigned with 1, B will be assigned with the 2. Then how many elements are left? 3, 4, 5. These 3 elements will be assigned to C as a list when we put an asterisk. So the remaining elements. So let us try to print. See here. So that is called unpacking. So that is one more important point to remember. So when the number of values and variables are not equal, you can put an asterisk, which implies that the remaining elements will be assigned as the elements of C as a list. So because one is assigned to A, B to 2, and C will have the elements 3, 4, 5 as a list. So if you put, suppose I'll put asterisk in between and just see what happens to the elements. If you change asterisk, so instead of C, I'll put at B. That means one value will be assigned to A and one value will be assigned to C. So A will be assigned to 1, C will be assigned to 5, and B with the list of elements 2, 3, and 4. So let us see that. So that is unpacking. That is a unique property of tuples. So what is a tuple? A tuple is a collection of data, a sequence data type, which is ordered, unchangeable, and can have duplicate values. So the main difference between tuple and list is unchangeable property. That is, the elements of the tuple are unchangeable. And how to initialize a tuple? Always a tuple is initialized by using parentheses or round brackets, and elements are separated by comma. And indexing is possible in case of tuple, slicing is possible, and then operators, all four operators can be applied, that is concatenation, repetition, membership, and iterate operator, right? Iteration, or we can call it as iterate operator. And only three methods you can apply on tuples, that is the len, and then count, and then indexing, right? And then, because it's of unchangeable property, if we want to change the elements of the tuple, what we have to do is, first you have to convert the tuple into a list and apply the list method and convert back the list again into the tuple. Then only the elements can be added or removed from the tuple. That is one important point to be remembered. And the last point is the unique property of the tuple, that is called unpacking. That is, you can extract the values of the tuple back into variables, and this is how we have to initialize. So first take a tuple and assign values to the variables. So A, B, C, D, and E, or any names you can take, and then try to print. So values will be assigned to the new variables. And then you can also have less number of variables. Number of values and variables generally must be equal. In case if you don't have the equal number of variables, you can put an asterisk, in which what happens is, if you put asterisk, the values will be assigned to a variable as a list. So for C, because here we have used asterisk for C, so the elements for C will be the, so list C will be a list with the elements, right? So that is called the another important property. So I hope you all understood what is the tuple and difference between tuple and list. Thank you.